I now present the Honorable Barbara Roberts, Governor of the State of Oregon, to deliver her farewell address. Governor.
Thank you very much. I would tell you I was disappointed you didn't know the words. I told John Kitzhaber that he will know those words by heart very soon. On November 6, 1990, you elected me as your 34th governor and afforded me an honor given to only a few citizens in history. I will be forever grateful. I look back on these 4 years with much the same excitement and awe I felt on the night I was elected. But I also recall, as Governor Kitzhaber will soon attest, the huge responsibility and great expectations that are placed on the shoulders of each governor as they take the oath of office. And it is responsibility and expectations that I want to speak to you about for just a few moments. First, and let me say this clearly, Oregon is not a whim. Oregon is not a political football. This state is not a commodity to be traded off or bartered away by any group of citizens or any group of elected officials. This state is a legacy that all 3 million Oregonians hold in trust, and the time has come for each of us to take that obligation to heart. First, we must stand up to those who attempt to divide Oregonians and tell them they are damaging our state and we aren't going to take it anymore. We can no longer listen to those who preach division, whether it be Republican versus Democrat, city versus rural, liberal versus conservative, or gay versus the OCA. We are all Oregonians, and we must live in peace and harmony, respecting our differences and celebrating our commonality. We are not enemies, and we will stop the battles that pit us one against another. We will stop them, or Oregon and each of us will be diminished. Secondly, to those who would turn the natural push and pull between the environment and the economy into a short-sighted power game to brand thoughtful environmental regulations the enemy of economic growth, I would caution you, and that includes some in this chamber, I would caution you that businesses and professionals, investors and highly skilled workers are choosing Oregon for that exact quality of life that you could irrevocably damage. Our land use laws, our water and air standards, our forest practices commitments are important long-term blueprints for a quality Oregon future. Your responsibility toward our natural resources base must be approached with a sense of history and stewardship. And, in my opinion, Oregon must begin today to set an example for the entire nation about bringing government and citizens to the table together. Our citizens in both Oregon and the U.S. are angry and disillusioned, and they no longer believe or trust their government or their elected officials. Well, that's no way to run a country, and it's no way to run a state. And Oregon must now lead the way in rebuilding an active, inclusive, citizen-government partnership. It will require very hard work and creativity on the part of those of us in government. It will require equally hard work and personal involvement on the part of Oregon citizens. Each of us must recommit ourselves to a relationship where we are all members of the same team. We can no longer allow Oregon's future to be a spectator sport. I made a real effort at that shared involvement when I launched the conversation with Oregon. And for the skeptics, and I know they are there, who believe it failed, you should talk with the 10,000 plus Oregonians who actually participated. We learned from each other. We shed light on complicated tax and budget issues and on government expectations from their point and ours. We found almost unanimous support statewide on what mattered to Oregon citizens. But 10,000 people isn't enough to reach inclusiveness in a state of 3 million. We must rebuild our citizens' belief in their government. And we, the politicians, must stop the simplistic political rhetoric that wins favor in elections but breeds misinformation and false expectations on complex, multifaceted policy choices. The partnership between the people and their government has broken down. Repairing our democracy will require leadership, thoughtful ideas, teamwork, some political sacrifices, and a new commitment that places shared responsibility over partisan blame. Muscle flexing, chest thumping, and finger pointing are not the tools for rebuilding the bonds between our citizens and their elected representatives. When tempted to use these messages or these methods, stop. Think. Restrain yourself and choose another method for the sake of Oregon. Now, lest you think I'm here just to preach to you, let me, before I step down, share 3 or 4 very brief reflections on these 4 years as the Governor of Oregon. No one, I believe, would question that I served my term as governor against an imposed backdrop that added huge hurdles to an already difficult job. But at this moment, at this very moment, it is as if all those trials and challenges and frustrations have suddenly just melted away. And believe me, that is one small miracle. Truthfully, I'm not really sure I'd want all those challenges and those tough issues I faced to disappear. They represented a time of testing and transition for both Oregon and for me. And I'd like to believe that history will show that we passed that test and both of us are better for it. I'll remember so much about these years: the campaign, the issues, the wins, the debates, traveling every corner of this wonderful state, the special celebrations like the Oregon Trail, the great announcements like Intel and Sony and workers' comp and unemployment rates, the conversation with Oregon, the earthquake at the Capitol, my inaugural day. I will remember so much. But mostly, I will remember the people. My wonderful staff and policy team who carried such big workloads and cared so much about Oregon. They gave me their all for 4 years. And the state employees and managers who did yeoman service in difficult times, who provided ideas, were willing to try new approaches, became advocates for government reinvention, who worked hard and whined little. And business leaders, local government folks, education at every level, every time I needed risk takers or workhorses, they were there. And the ordinary citizens of the state who are, in fact, not ordinary at all. I've worked with them, debated with them, marched with them, celebrated and laughed with them, mourned and cried with them. They are not ordinary at all. And my family, they have my gratitude and love, for they have been with me every step of the way. 4 years ago, many of you will remember, I took the oath of office not from this podium in the traditional place, but on the House floor, so Frank could be by my side. I knew then that I stood beside my very greatest supporter and my best fan. He was with me then. He is with me now. I return to private life today, and the outward patterns of my life will change. But the greater change that has come from these 4 years means that I will never again return to the person I was. The people I've met, the insights I've gained, the experiences I've had, the kindness and generosity I've been given have changed me forever. Mine is a permanent bond with Oregon and Oregonians. I leave the governorship knowing that Oregon has had my full energies and total commitment for these 4 years. Where we experienced real Oregon successes, I feel proud of what this administration was able to accomplish. Where we fell short, it was never for lack of trying or an unwillingness to take risks. I have been privileged to be your governor. I have been honored to serve you. Thank you.